The people that really create the things that change this industry are both the thinker-doer in one person.
I would have never dropped in on that calligraphy class, and personal computers might not have the wonderful typography that they do. Of course, it was impossible to connect the dots looking forward when I was in college, but it was very, very clear looking backwards 10 years later. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something. I dropped out of Reed College after the first 6 months, but then stayed around as a drop-in for another 18 months or so before I really quit. So why'd I drop out? It started before I was born. My biological mother was a young, unwed graduate student, and she decided to put me up for adoption. She felt very strongly that I should be adopted by college graduates, so everything was all set for me to be adopted at birth by a lawyer and his wife. You can't start with the technology and try to figure out where you're going to try to sell it. And I've made this mistake probably more than anybody else in this room. And I've got the scar tissue to prove it. And I know that it's the case. And as we have tried to come up with a strategy and a vision for Apple,
when you strive to become successful, you have to understand that you will never be the successful level that you truly want to be. You have to always keep pushing forward, always keep moving, always keep trying to get better. Because the moment you stop, somebody's going to take your spot. Somebody's going to take your position of being that successful person that you want to be. So you have to make sure that you're constantly learning, constantly dreaming, and constantly getting more knowledge and growing and understanding more that there's abilities that you don't have and things that you can't do that you can be able to do. You just have to be willing to dedicate more time, more energy, and more effort. Because when you reach the level of success you think that you should have reached, that's great. Yay for you. But you need to keep on going. Keep pushing forward if you truly want to stay successful. Because it's not about how you become successful, but how long you can withstand that success. How long you can keep being successful. That's what's truly important. Because so many people become successes overnight, but then the next day they're gone. So do you want to be somebody who's truly successful and somebody who lasts years in the industry that they truly love and are passionate about? Or somebody who just hits it quick and is just there for a night or two, and maybe a week or a month if you're lucky, but other than that, then you're old news? Or do you want to be somebody who's in it for the long haul and fully committed and always wanting to be the best and trying to strive to be better than you possibly ever thought? That is the mindset you have to have in order to become truly successful. Go out there and be who you think you can be, and go out there and crush your dreams. Go out there and keep moving forward no matter what.
Except that when I popped out, they decided at the last minute that they really wanted a girl. So my parents, who were on a waiting list, got a call in the middle of the night asking, "We've got an unexpected baby boy. Do you want him?" They said, "Of course."
To me, marketing's about values. This is a very complicated world. It's a very noisy world. And we're not going to get a chance to get people to remember much about us. No company is. And so we have to be really clear on what we want them to know about us.
Your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. Because believing that the dots will connect down the road will give you the confidence to follow your heart, even when it leads you off the well-worn path, and that will make all the difference. One of the hardest things when you're trying to affect change is that people like this gentleman are right in some areas. I'm sure that there are some things OpenDoc does, probably even more that I'm not familiar with, that nothing else out there does. And I'm sure that you can make some demos, maybe a small commercial app that demonstrates those things.
Now, Apple, fortunately, is one of the half a dozen best brands in the whole world. Right up there with Nike, Disney, Coke, Sony. It is one of the greats of the greats, not just in this country, but all around the globe.
It started with what incredible benefits can we give to the customer? Where can we take the customer? Not starting with, let's sit down with the engineers and figure out what awesome technology we have, and then how are we going to market that? It was beautiful, historical, artistically subtle in a way that science can't capture, and I found it fascinating. None of this had even a hope of any practical application in my life. But 10 years later, when we were designing the first Macintosh computer, it all came back to me. And we designed it all into the Mac. It was the first computer with beautiful typography. If I had never dropped in on that single course in college, the Mac would have never had multiple typefaces or proportionally spaced fonts. And since Windows just copied the Mac, it's likely that no personal computer would have them. The hardest thing is, how does that fit in to a cohesive, larger vision that's going to allow you to sell $8 billion, $10 billion of product a year? And one of the things I've always found is that you've got to start with the customer experience and work backwards to the technology.
Even a great brand needs investment and caring if it's going to retain its relevance and vitality. And the Apple brand has clearly suffered from neglect in this area in the last few years. And we need to bring it back. The way to do that is not to talk about speeds and feeds. It's not to talk about MIPS and megahertz. It's not to talk about why we're better than Windows. The dairy industry tried for 20 years to convince you that milk was good for you.
If you want to see more videos like these, please consider subscribing for more.